So hello, good evening. Also from my side, my name is Thomas Bürk. I'm now moderating the second part of our panel. And I'm also part of the Narcotic City project. We are very glad to welcome tonight also people from the drug checking activist world. And we will make a little bit more like a Q&A session. So we ask people about their backgrounds, why they are motivated to do drug checking, and about their stories and histories of their institutions and kind of initiatives. First, some words on drug checking. So what is meant by that? Drug checking and drug testing, as you can name it, has a long time story. It was more or less invented in the 90s in Switzerland, but also in Berlin, and then it was rapidly forbidden again. And it means exactly checking substances about their compositions and if it's safe or more or less safe to take these substances, which meant mostly cannabis products on the one hand, and other MDMA, ecstasy, whatever, more chemical pills. But this is all the kind of issue and the content of a more intense workshop tomorrow. It's our internal workshop about international perspective on drug checking, but we also thought it might be a nice idea to open up this archive also with perspectives from people who are doing drug checking, are active in drug checking initiatives since the last years. And so I welcome Guy Jones from London. He will first give us some kind of a short introduction and short hello, and what are you doing, and what is the Loop in London, yes, and how come that you work there?
So my name is Guy Jones, and I am a senior chemist at the Loop and the director of the company Reagent Tests UK. The Loop is a drug checking organization that operates in the UK. Until now, we have mostly been operating at music festivals and events, but also with some pop-up drug checking services in cities. We were starting in 2014 and have gradually scaled up our operations, taking a lot of lessons from other organizations around Europe who have been doing it for much longer, but bringing something new in terms of technology to the field, as we were the first to use infrared spectroscopy in an attempt to speed up the analysis to make our operation at music festivals very efficient to serve as many people as possible. And yes.
Also welcome to Helena Valente from Portugal, and she's also since a long time involved in drug checking projects. And Helena, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, thank you, Thomas and Stefan, for the invitation and for the opportunity to be here. So my name is Helena, and I come from Portugal, and I've been working with people that use drugs since, I think, 2004. That's when I first came across the concept of harm reduction and harm reduction interventions. And at the time, it was really mind-blowing for me. I was unaware that it was possible to do that type of intervention in a non-judgmental and accepting space, and opening spaces of visibility and care for people that use drugs, which is all of us most of the time. So it was really very powerful for me. And at the time, it was a needle exchange team. But eventually, with some other people that used to go to parties, we started doing also some harm reductions in parties. And in 2006, I think we began some very rudimentary drug checking with colorimetric reagents and something like that. And eventually, from there, my interest in drug checking really grew, mainly because I was able to understand the actual power that drug checking has within a prohibitionist context. And although the country where I come from, Portugal, as probably most of you know, has decriminalized drug use since 2001. So the possession or the buying or the consumption of drugs is not a crime, but still it is a misdemeanor. So it's not legal to do drugs or buy drugs. And when you do an intervention with drug checking, you can actually see the difference that does. When you provide information to people, but objective information about what they're actually trying to use and not about what they think they want to use, the impact that has not only on the person that is in front of us, but also in the group of friends and eventually in a much bigger network, it's really powerful. So many years have passed with several different things in my life, always connected to drug checking. And in 2016, I was able, with a group of amazing people, to join a larger organization that it's called Kosmicare, and that mainly advocates for more humane drug policies. We work in many fields. We began with psych care and psychedelic emergency in festivals for people undergoing difficult experiences that are usually related to drugs, but might also be other psychological issues. And then on, we incorporated other areas like drug checking, and today we have an open drop-in center in Lisbon that works every week, where people can come and they can test their drugs weekly. And we also have a mobile unit that works with people using drugs in more vulnerable situations. So we work alongside with the safe consumption rooms in the city of Lisbon. And this is a new challenge for us. We just began this year. We also had to do some peer recruitment with people that were using in socially and economically more vulnerable situations, because that wasn't the first aim of our organization, but we really felt the need of scaling up our work to reach more people and a different type of people that uses drugs, because we were only reaching quite privileged white males, I would say. So this is our new challenge, and it's working well so far, and I'll shut up for now.
Of course, third, August de Loor from Amsterdam. He is really an old activist, not old in age, but old in experience, and also a very warm welcome to August. And August, how started your kind of career as a drug checker?
Related to drug testing, my latest program is fighting the synthetic cannabis. The synthetic cannabis is a huge problem at the moment. The CBD tops and bed-produced marijuana, they spread it with synthetic cannabis like Pinaca or others. And in Holland, we start a campaign to fighting it. So every coffee shop owner at his back door, when he buy the cannabis, he have now a test. We invented a new test, this one, and with €2 you can test your product, and then when there is Pinaca in it, we bring it to the laboratorium. And in the meantime, we have found more other synthetic cannabinoid in it, because of the COVID, the price of the marijuana for smoking is really high, and from Morocco the smuggling is really terrible. So the producers of synthetic cannabis, they are in shape at the moment, and we have to fight them with this drug testing. My drug testing career started in the 70s, when I'm started as street collar worker in the 60s, and so I had the privilege that I saw every new drug trend coming up from that time, from the cannabis to the latest ketamine, and now, and always, because there is a war on drugs, drugs are always polluted. So I don't understand that the only way to reach the user is by testing. Because when you can answer his main question, what did I bought? And what's in it? So I think every city, every government, every nation, the whole world the main start of a good drug program in every country, it has to start with drug testing. With drug testing, you have direct contact with the person. And it gives you all the information, what's on the market, the pollution. You can use the guy or the woman who bring in the drugs. You can use them as a peer for spreading out the word. Every Friday, we bring the test results to the ambulances, especially for the party drugs in the weekend. So we inform also the ambulances. So to all sides, for a good harm reduction drug program, the drug testing is the spill, is the center of everything. So, and it has to also be the start that we have to end the war on drugs, because that's the big problem. The war on drugs makes these problems always, and I travel around the world to fight the war on drugs, and it's a pity I have to fight the war on drugs in Holland too, because Holland was the last 50 years the head in no projects, harm reduction. I invented many of them, Narcotic Exchange Program, Safe House Campaign, but in Holland it changed in a bad condition. So also in Holland we have a war on drugs now, so there's a lot to do.
May I just add on that, that one of the things that surprised me, so I am a chemist by background, and I came into it obviously with all of that baggage from being a chemist, and when I first was volunteering in the sanctuary space at music festivals, and there were people coming into the sanctuary space, and I thought, wow, we could really change this situation. Many of these people do not need to be here, and if they could just know what they were taking, then we would immediately solve so many problems. And so when I found out about drug checking and started to become involved with it, and I was told that the people would be asked to sit down for 5 to 10 minutes to talk about their result and talk about the drug that they were consuming and all of this. And I thought, nobody is going to come for that. Nobody is going to come for a lecture about drugs. Nobody is going to even use this service if we make them do that. And I was so wrong, because you're completely right that drug checking is so much more than just this is what is in your drugs. It is a massively important engagement tool that really you are just doing a trade. You are telling them the piece of information that they want, and they think maybe that is the only piece of information they want, but you are trading it for their attention, and you are using that opportunity to explain to them the risks of the compound that it turns out that they have, whether that's the same as what they have, but you can also talk to them about any medications they take, any other drugs they are planning to consume, any interactions that could have, and you can make it about so much more than just this is your test result. It's really an opportunity for a significant health intervention. So I think it's really important to highlight that.
But drug testing is, we will talk tomorrow for hours. Yes. You see, but drug testing is much more. Yes. You see, at the moment it's really in whole Europe they're testing the toilet water. You see, what in what kind of city the kind
wastewater
of drugs.
Analysis.
Yeah. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Millions of euros goes into that kind of survey. With drug testing, you know what kind of drugs are in the popularity. What kind the new rules of the government. For instance, in 2008, the government of Amsterdam was forbidden mushrooms. You see, and what we saw on our drug testing system months before, the LSD came in. You see, so also the illegal market of LSD. They knew that the Minister of Health will forbid mushrooms, and the LSD market took over, you see. So without testing the water from your shit, don't tell nothing. You see, you have no contact with the consumer. You can with drug tests, every change in trends you can see. When there is a bad quality, you can start red alerts. you can inform the ambulance that I already explained. So like this, with this the THC CBD, we grab the synthetic cannabis. And last week I was on the Ministry of Health, and they will take it over, you see. And then on that moment you can say, this we need because you don't legalize cannabis.
But August and Helena and Guy as well, but this is a bizarre thing. As you said, every drug is polluted, no? And we live in a capitalist consumerist society where everything is checked. Like if you, I would say every food is polluted as well, but then you have the checking of the whatever the substances which are in it, or the organic food, you have the labeling stuff. The testing industry is quite big, no? When it comes to food, when it comes to consumer products, the whole kind of consumerism is perfectly checked, and we live in a time now we check every day our corona, viruses and so on. So checking on the one hand is not a new invention, it's not a kind of a secret procedure, so there's a lot of industry around it, but not in these special substances. And it sounds like a stupid question to say, why is that not going on, or why is it still highly illegal, or in many cases even the people are treated by kind of legal problems. So what do you think? What is the real difference between the usual consumer substances and the substances which are, in this case, are stigmatized?
Can I? Well, I think that's a $1 million question. Yes. Because it actually goes to the fact that drugs are illegal and why are they illegal, and I don't think we have time to deeply go into that and all the morals that are beneath all the prohibition. But regarding, I'm going to focus only on drug checking to make the question simple. Drug checking has been accused many times of being a way of promoting drug use, and this was one of the main reasons that people would oppose it, or the opposers would use this type of argument to go against drug checking. And that would be a bit counterintuitive, and we've seen it with needle exchange and other things, that people already use drugs. No one is going to go buy a drug to inject a drug because someone is giving them a needle, and the same doesn't happen with drug checking. But what we see is that finally the interest in drug checking, mostly not for the best reasons, but a lot to do with the opioid crisis in the United States, has really popped up a lot of interest in drug checking, and a lot of research has happened since 2010 until now. And what we see when we analyze the behavior of users is that that doesn't happen. The majority of users that actually have an unexpected result or a dangerous result, their substance is adulterated with something else, it's going to change that behavior, and it's going to discard the substance that they intended to use. Or when they decide not to discard it, they're going to take less, they're going to avoid mixing with alcohol and other drugs. I've been researching on this, and my results support this. Also, the Loop and Fiona have been researching around this, and I think most of the results of people go in this direction, showing that people are actually worried about their health. They want to maximize the benefits of their drug use, and drug checking is a tool for this. Obviously, what's not going to happen is when people come and they do have what they expected, they're probably not going to discard it, but they weren't going to do it anyway. So I think drug checking works, and it actually reduces, in some situations, drug use. So I think this is an important message.
That's definitely been our experience with especially the festival testing service, that we have this situation where people are coming to a music festival, they have gone to the trouble of buying the substance, they have smuggled it in past the security, past the dogs, past the body searches. They are not at that point going to suddenly go, I don't really want this, I'm going to throw it in the bin. And so actually we are a last resort to try and achieve that outcome, if it is necessary to do it, that when we give them their test result and we report to them, this is a different compound than you expected, invariably, when it is a different compound, it is an unpleasant one that nobody would want to take, that is the last resort, that is the opportunity where we can reduce drug use. That is the an outcome of drug checking that is often overlooked. But what we see is that when we tell somebody this is not the substance you expected, there is a huge chance that they will go, no, I do not want this anymore. And so it is the complete opposite of encouraging drug use. Far from it, we have this opportunity to get them to throw away their drugs into the bin. And could you ever imagine a situation any other way that you could get people to do that? Well, no, you couldn't. And even in the cases where they do have the drugs that they expected, then we can still convince them, after we talk to them and explain to them the possible benefits of doing so, that they could reduce the amount that they consume. So we have, on the one hand, that they are quite possibly going to throw the drugs in the bin, and then on the other hand, that they may reduce the drug use, reduce the amount of risk that they are exposed to, reduce the chance that they could end up in the medical services, and therefore reduce the strain on the medical services. So there are a huge palette of wins that we have access to by offering this service, and it is not something that encourages drug use.
Yeah, and of course it was a stupid question, even a naive question, because on the other hand, there's also a lot of criticism around drug checking, especially when it comes to this party drug checking, that it's only supported because it's our white middle-class kids. No? This is like the festival kids and so on. This is especially criticism against drug checking in Switzerland, how it began, and Switzerland caring for the middle-class kids, which is, of course, also, I think, a little bit of provocative term, because you are dealing with a total different people or with a lot of different people. No? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the clientele, maybe, or the people you are kind of helping, serving, whatever. No?
Yeah, and I think that is a very valid criticism of the festival testing service, and this is something that certainly I think all of the drug checking services across Europe and across the world are trying to address. That one of the struggles that we have in the UK is, and I would say anywhere, is there are legal challenges, there are logistical challenges, there are budget challenges. If you don't have access to a significant pool of funding, then one of the places that you can reach the most people in the shortest amount of time and therefore minimize your overhead costs is at a music event where there is going to be inevitably a large amount of drug use. But it is not sufficient to only target that population, because then you are only reaching people who have £200, €200 of disposable income to access that service. And so it's absolutely essential that there should be central government funding for these services so that they can be rolled out into cities, either by mobile services or drop-in services, so that people who are really already some of the most marginalized in society still are able to access these services. And this is something that we are certainly working. We've had some trials in cities in the UK, and it's something we're really working towards going forwards. And I know that other services in Europe are already achieving this, so we are very much behind in that regard.
Thomas, your question was not stupid. Acceptation in the society of drug testing. I think tomorrow we have to discuss that also the drug testing society have looked to themselves. That I think there is no power to make lines to the society. For instance, my drug testing program, I started in 1987 on the dance floor. The only way to accept it was not only the drug testing, but also how can you kick out the dealers from the dance floor? Because when you wanna have your ecstasy, you have to buy it through the week, you see. And we start also a system of drug testing places through the week, because I started on the dance floor, you see. So then you put the pressure out of the dance floor. I trained first 8 people in how to do the drugs first aid, you see, safe drive campaigns. Also, that the workers in the parties are drugs free. You see, we make programs drug free working. DJs, when you're on the ecstasy, on coke, kick out. You see, so the society learns. I did the same with the needle exchange program. I started in 1981 with the needle exchange program, and I took the mothers from the kindergarten because the needles were in the sand. And that convinced the mayor to start, because junkies is nothing, you see, when you give them a good needle in the society. But when you can take out the needles from the kindergarten, you see. So drug testing has to be integrated in a huge program that also the society understands what you are doing. For instance, in 2014, we had the white heroin problem in Amsterdam, you see. And we started the Ignore Street Dealer program, you see, because there was one dealer who sold under the nickname cocaine, he sold white heroin, and 3 tourists died, you see. And also I could convince the mayor that you have make an Ignore Street Dealer program that also the people from the city feel their responsibility. And then we find the dealer. We kick him out. With this system, you see. So tomorrow we have to discuss that also the drug testing system have to make lines to the normal society, even to the people who are against drug testing.
Can I just add something? Well, I think the criticism that you're making is actually a really valid point, and it's not new. I think in 1975, there was already an American paper from Keeley and Weber saying street drug analysis, whom do they serve? And this is in 75, and they already said it was mainly highly educated college students. And we have the same problem. We have a highly educated, white, male, cisgender population that comes to our services, not only to the festivals. We now, like I said, have a drop-in center open, and we see the same thing happening. And this is why we thought, well, a lot of the people that are in more vulnerable situations cannot even come to the drop-in center. It's not only that they don't go to parties, but it's also difficult to be mobile, to go away from the places of consumption, to move to other places. So now we have a van and we actually go to the consumption sites. But the thing is, it also has other challenges, because we were speaking about the festivals and how people can discard their substances, but obviously it is not to be expected that someone that had, for example, to do sex work or eventually to do other illegal activities or something like that to get their substance is going to easily discard it if it's not what they expect. So we have to do this sort of mindset change to work with different people, understand what can be valid information for these people, what can be a valid way to test. For example, to test for this population, we had the help of Guy to start also doing the infrared, so the substance wouldn't be destroyed in the process. Because once you said to people, well, we need a little bit, it's only a small amount, but it's going to get destroyed. For people in festivals, that's no problem. They say, no, give it all, I have more. But obviously, when you're in a very vulnerable economical situation, that's not going to be the case. So you have also to change the mindsets. It's not the people that use drugs that have to change, but we have to change the services. We have to make them available. The truth is that harm reduction was a game changer when it appeared, and it opened a space where drug use could actually be accepted. But now we have to move a step forward and try to integrate different people that are still on the margins even of harm reduction. And drug checking started, I think, with an easier public, because this is where you can see the change happening. And now that I think we're stepping on more firm ground and we have more evidence, we're going to move forward to other places, I think.
Yeah, thank you for that. Maybe as a last question or last round, we spoke about funding, and I think it's the most, or one of the most central and crucial questions. So where's the money coming from, and who's funding this kind of initiatives? And so maybe you can give us a small insight. Where is the money coming from? Is this voluntarily work or whatever? Or how important is that? And yeah, where's the money coming from, mostly?
So for the Loop, we are generously supported by a huge pool of volunteers. One of the things that we have been very successful at is making the public aware of the work that we do, and that has had the side effect of many people are inspired to think this work is really making a difference, and I want to be involved. And so we have a team, I'm obviously within the chemist team, we have a team of over 300 volunteers in our volunteer pool who are able to come to events in any city in the UK and give their time for free. These are highly qualified professional chemists, and they give their time for free to help operate the service. Going forwards, however, to scale this up to a national level service, which is staffed on weekdays, I do not think it is reasonable to keep asking these people to give up their time for free, to take their vacation from work and come and give their expertise like this. And of course, we need to be able to rent buildings and buy equipment. And so the only way that I see drug checking moving forward and continuing to reach people who it needs to reach and to help more people is that it has to be funded by the central government.
The Safe House campaign, testing on the dance floor with the whole program around it, the drugs here. It was paid by the party organizers. It was paid by the city where the party was in, and the biggest party was 120,000 people in Rotterdam. So the mayor of Rotterdam paid, and the Ministry of Health. But this campaign, the last campaign, the synthetic cannabis, fighting the synthetic cannabis, is paid by the Union of Coffee Shop Owners, because they don't want to do this bullshit for their visitors. And secondly, it's also paid by the organization for cannabis smokers. So they pay this campaign for 2 years already. So it depends. It depends what kind of drug testing system where you're focusing on. So, for instance, the white heroin campaign was paid by the city of Amsterdam, a lot of money. There was poisoning heroin in the 80s, and it was paid by the Suriname Society, because when you shoot the heroin, no problem, but when you're smoking it, you died. So especially the black people were dying in 4 weeks. More than 26 persons died. So it was my most terrible period in my work. And but when you do your job, the money is there.
We're also mainly public funded. Well, our drop-in center and the drug checking service is funded by the General Directorate for Drugs and Drug Addiction in Portugal, which is part of the Ministry of Health, and also from the Lisbon municipality. It's paid by both. Then the mobile unit we were able to buy with the support of the Open Society Foundation. And we also have a support for some technicians, which is already from this plan of resilience and support. It's due to the COVID-19. I'm not sure how is it called here, but yes, mainly we have different funders, but it's all mainly public money.
Yeah, thank you for that. But of course, this is in the end, talking about money is not a really good end, and it's as well. It's the beginning of a debate tomorrow, and I think it's also the beginning of a debate in hopefully maybe not the whole society, but in Berlin it has started since 25, 30 years that the debate is on, and it's still not happening a lot in this case, but we are looking forward that there will be happening something, because it's introduced since years that there will be some major steps in this direction. We are observing that critically, and I'm really glad that we have the opportunity tomorrow to talk a little bit more deeper, and for the audience and whatever people listening to this archive opening, take the opportunity to have a look to the archive on the one hand, and we of course stay critical to everything which is presented there and which is especially presented in the whole discourse on drug and substances consumption. And we heard a lot of really clear statements against the war on drugs. On the one hand, the need to legalize and especially decriminalize substance use in every single way. And I would say enough for today, enough for tonight. And we would say good night. And thanks to everybody for being here and for listening or whatever, watching us in the Zoom thing. August?
Thomas, money is not a good way to stop.
I know, yeah.
But to give a present,
to give a present, of course,
is August, a good way to stop. I give Narcotic City the present. The first EZ test in 1994, that also in the smart shop everyone could buy the ecstasy test for checking out. It's not laboratorium level, but it gives you information. And this is the latest one, the THC to fight the synthetic cannabis. With this test, we did already 25 different kind of synthetic cannabis to the laboratorium. It works perfect. And this present is when in 1969 in Holland started the fighting against ecstasy on an American-based way. The DEA came to Holland and started a unit synthetic drug fighting the ecstasy. And what happens from the moment the special unit started fighting ecstasy, laboratorium, the pollution of the ecstasy market was huge. And this is one of the flyers from 1997, when even atropine was into the ecstasy. More than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 different kind of ecstasy. And I brought it to the Prime Minister, and I said, thank to him. Thank you. When you started the unit synthetic drugs to fight the ecstasy, the pollution of the market is now general, and this is the biggest problem. This was the red alert. More than 250,000 flyers we had to spread out in that 1997.
And obviously you're so right. It's always a better way. And this is also a reminder to all of you and to all of us to say that Narcotic City Archive is an open archive, as mentioned, and you all are highly welcome to give donations, not money, but objects, testimonies, flyers, whatever you know, and whatever you have from your own, whatever substance, story, history, and also to support this kind of collection for maybe later generations, for research, for activism, for everything, which is quite important nowadays, to open up to a general public, because all this stuff about drugs is highly secret still, and it still seems to be the business of some people and not of the whole society, and that's a pity. So that's from my side. Thank you very much for being here.